I've said this before and I'll say it again. God's love is so great. If you compare God's love to Buddha, there's like barely, I think the only sin in Buddha is disrespecting something. But they don't have all these guidelines. And people are like, oh, well, that makes it easy. It's not supposed to be easy. What kind of father would let their child do whatever they want? Loving father. In what world is that okay? Muslim, you can kill if people don't agree with you. What? This is God who has all these guidelines, which is good. What kind of father doesn't have guidelines? I mean, you're like, God says to love him, love your parents. He has all these guidelines, and people say, well, that's too hard to follow. But that's a good thing. He has guidelines, because that means he's a good, loving father. What kind of father wants their son to do whatever, their son or daughter do whatever they want? Not a good one. But God has permissions and guidelines and everything. And that just means he's even more loving. So that's how you really know that God, Jesus, it's the only way. And if you compare it to Judaism, the cycle is incomplete. They do all these things and even in the Old Testament of Christianity, the old things is, if somebody does that, they must be put to death. But the reason why that's just not good for Judaism, for the Jewish, is they don't have a completion for that. Christ is the completion. He died for our sins so you don't have to be put to death. He was put to death so you don't have to be put to death. In the Old Testament, it says put to death immediately. But that's why Christ came, so that's not how it works. So that's how you know that Christianity through Jesus is the only way. The only way. And I don't think I've ever heard a sermon like this before, comparing it to other religions. And some people might get mad at me. I might be wrong about the Muslim stuff. I don't know much about that, but Christ is the only way. Amen.